Have you noticed how many people are offering metaphysical and healing services in your area? Why? Why now? Who are these inspired people? They are ordinary people having extraordinary experiences.
I had an amazing, wonderful childhood. I was fortunate to be born in a family that was well-to-do, and they owned coffee plantations in Mexico. And the majority of time that we spent there, I chose to spend not so much with my family in the house, with my cousins playing chess or whatever, but out in the field with the workers, with the people. And in doing that, I was introduced to Mexican shamanism at a very, very early age. And that impacted me in a great deal.
During my teenage years, when I started to spend more time with my father and in his world with my stepmother as well, and going to a lot of new age conferences, and they had a technology that worked with the body's energy field, which I didn't know anything about as a teenager. And in fact, I remember they had a watch, and I took this watch that it also, again, it worked with the body's energy field. And I remember taking it to school and showing my friends and how cool it was. I learned at a very young age to stop talking about these other things. And I really just did. I did that. I pretty much sequestered that experience with that family, with my dad, and I call it the National Enquirer family. Whereas my mom, it was the Washington Post family. All my friends, that whole world, everyone, the world everyone knows about, everyone can relate to. It's the real world, the normal world. And that's the world I mostly lived in. But I did have a lot of exposure on my vacations or whenever I would be with my dad to this other world, this world of human energies and auras and crystals and Atlantis and all of these kinds of experiences. I went into the military. I was a captain in the Air Force. And that's for sure I didn't talk about this stuff in that world. And still knowing that there was a deeper calling in me.
My background is I've done a lot of hospitality restaurant work, more so than I care to admit. And I also sold cars for many years, for 3 or 4 years. And I've said this many times, I lived in a $3 million home a block away from Tony Robbins. I've lived out of my car twice. I've traveled the world. And but when it comes down to, I'm just a latchkey kid from Iowa who's had a lot of extraordinary experiences.
I grew up in a life of living around the globe in a very traditional Catholic family. So we didn't talk about things like the unseen realms or supernatural. And I don't know that it was actually taboo. It just simply wasn't something that we explored. So when my guides asked me when I was a child, did I remember having communicated with them, and I didn't, I was certain that whatever experiences I might have had with them was suppressed because it wasn't something that was expressed. I wasn't in that kind of environment. I studied business in undergrad and then went on for a master's degree in international management and marketing. So I went with my certifications and my experience into the corporate world, also moving into corporate America. Somewhere along the line, I think around my college years, there was a spiritual side of me that was coming out, but somehow I felt that it was separate and smaller than my professional side.
I grew up in New York. I didn't really know anyone who was intuitive or psychic, and just kind of went to school, educated myself, became a teacher, met my husband, and then I moved down to Florida, and that's where it really began. I started meditating more, started taking more classes, started reading books. I was teaching, I was married, had children, Then I went into paralegal school and still felt like something was missing within me.
In my past life, I was a banker, and I was in the banking profession for about 12 or 15 years, and I loved what I did. I loved what I did, and there was a moment I worked for one of the major banks in Los Angeles, and there was a moment that they brought in the first top executive from outside the organization, and overnight the culture of the bank changed. And it no longer mattered how well I managed my people, how well I treated the customers. All that mattered was the numbers, bringing in the numbers, and the job became very stressful. And I started becoming ill on a regular basis and crying myself to sleep at night, not knowing how to handle this. And one day I just decided I can't do this anymore. I need to take a break. So I left that job with the idea that I would take a sabbatical for a couple of years and just see what else was out there.
First thing that I remember that pertains to my current path is this hollowed out tree that I used to visit as a child. And I would spend so much time there, and it was the era of I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, and I can literally remember going in the tree and going, trying to be like Jeannie. But I remember truly believing I could do magic. So I was either remembering another dimension in which I could, but it felt like that. It was some sort of memory that was latent and yet still there.
I was obsessed with history when I was a kid, just totally obsessed with it. I read everything I could about the Bible, about ancient caravans and Marco Polo, and anything that had anything to do with the Middle East. I was just totally immersed in that. I did go to school to study writing, and in the midst of that, in Philadelphia, I discovered psychology, and in the midst of that, I discovered astrology. As an adjunct to astrology, I studied history. I studied Near Eastern history. Years later, I moved to New York, and I worked in the music business.
While we were able to interview a few people, they symbolically represent a collective trend spreading globally. Listen to the radio shows that reach people around the world. Countless guests and hosts talk about their extraordinary abilities, which is rapidly becoming the new ordinary. A reservoir of experiences had by our species, the collective unconscious seems to be seeping into humanity's mass consciousness as more people are having paranormal occurrences. Traditionally taboo, thus previously suppressed, extraordinary phenomena is on course as an unstoppable wave of tsunami proportions in the lives of everyday people working as lawyers, doctors, teachers, computer programmers, marketing directors, soldiers, politicians, virtually in all fields.
As a child, I would always wonder about the cosmos and that we were more than this existence, and I didn't really ask. I really didn't feel comfortable asking my family or friends anything about it. I just kind of went on my own personal journey. And then I would always play make-believe, and then there were always other beings who would interact with me. Still didn't really have much of a background with it. I knew that the beings were around me by the presence I would feel. That would be the first thing. It would be a comfort, and then I would start seeing these twinkling lights, and it would be a peacefulness that just would come in. And a lot of times I realized that I didn't remember things. So I think I left the body. I think that they would come and take me and just take me to a loving place. They also felt, aside from being sparkly and loving, lots of white light. I saw lots of white light, and I would see that all the time, especially when I would be going to sleep at night. That's when I really felt the presence.
I had one in-water encounter with one dolphin that absolutely changed everything, and that set everything into motion as to what I'm doing now. And this one dolphin swam up and made full body contact with me. So I opened my eyes. I was vertical in the water. My snorkel was above the water, and this dolphin face was just looking right at me. Totally unexpected. I started to laugh, and my mask is flooding with water, so I had to surface, but I didn't want to. And it's just before my head goes to surface, this dolphin made some clicking sounds and then swam away. And that was the moment I can look back, and those sounds activated something inside of me that enabled my body to transmit dolphin energy to people on the land.
Working brought me to places where I could study, new museums, new temples, new sacred sites. I went to Egypt, and I kind of saved the best for the last, so to speak. And I went with a gentleman who was doing a video on the age of the Sphinx. The minute I was there, I remember looking at the Sphinx, and it was as if I got hit by lightning, because everything in my soul that I had been yearning for, even as a small child, it's like I could feel layers and layers and layers opening. People would call it a conversion experience, but there were people walking around. We were in the middle of a crew filming. There was lots of archaeologists and people busy doing their everyday business. But for some reason, the Sphinx, I heard, speak to me. And so from there, it was very magical.
Once upon a time, there was a girl that was born onto this planet and always wondered, isn't there more to life? I went into the corporate world because that's what was expected of me. So I went through computers, a corporate career of 30 years, not liking computers, not liking the people, not liking the environment, really not vibing with the work. I took a weekend course in applied kinesiology, which is muscle testing, and I remember sitting in the front row and going, what is going on? Somehow, the instructor would call up strangers from the audience and, using muscle testing, ask other people questions about themselves and get the answers through this woman. So I ran away and practiced these little things on my friends. And I noticed a whole new skill set opened. I was actually getting information that there's no way Cynthia could know. I just didn't have the medical background or the business background to be answering the questions. And yet, by verifying through my clients, the information they received was not only accurate, but speeding them ahead light years in their development. People started calling and appearing, and I didn't have to explain what I was doing, which is really great, because I didn't know how to call it. It wasn't as though I'd taken a course, and so I had a teacher that I could call on for advice, and I had a nice little certificate I could hang as evidence that I had completed some body of knowledge. What was very clear to me is that the whole time Cynthia spent on this planet accumulating intellect, because that's what we're supposed to do, go to school, learn, go to business, learn, keep growing, learn, I knew the information was coming from another source. And what became fascinating is that I knew the answer to everything. Well, not me personally, but through my guidance. All the information was appearing.
I think that a great turning point for me has been twice in my life when I have drowned, when I died, actually twice. The first time I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and I clearly remember drowning and being asked the question, do you want to leave or do you want to stay? And I chose to stay because I was told that there was a better, bigger mission for me in my life. So when I came back at that early age, everything just started changing and looking completely different than before. So that curiosity got even bigger to enter that type of understanding and that type of shamanic life, although I didn't know that's what it was. Then later in life, in my 20s, I also drowned it. So careful with me and water. There's always something going on there. But then was the second waking call that moved to take my interest from what it was being in San Diego, California, going to college. My major was photography, and leaving everything behind. I mean, everything behind, and traveling to South America for 2.5 years with just my backpack and my cameras with me, and meeting all kinds of wonderful people, shamans, and doing a cultural study, photographic study of the nature, the native cultures of South America. 16, 17 years ago, Hurricane Andrew came along and wiped me out. The 3 businesses that I had were completely trashed. My home was trashed. And I found myself for the very first time in my entire life with absolutely nothing, which was a blessing because it was a fantastic learning experience for me to feel what it's like not to have, not to own. In that outer state of consciousness during breath work, I literally saw in my imagery these beautiful clouds, and between the clouds I saw a hand coming out all the way down to the elbow that pointed me out and said, come, come. So I left my body, I stood up, and then out of the hand, the eye of God came in the palm of that hand, and there was that communication. And the communication is the idea that you have to go back into the mundane, into the corporate, into the business world is not the right one for you at this time. You have to follow very strongly your spiritual path, and what you are doing right now is the beginning, is the entrance into that reality.
I was working part-time, and it was right after 9/11. All of a sudden, I started getting messages, and it wasn't a voice. I've since done some research to figure out what happened, and there's a saint who I love, Teresa of Avila, and she wrote about her messages, and she called them locutions, and I think that's the closest thing, closest description that I've come to. It's like this impregnated thought that you know is not yours because it startles you, number one, and then the magnificence of it leaves you feeling that you are in the presence of something otherworldly. So you can't confuse it with your own thoughts. I got this message to write a book called The Truth. I thought I was losing my mind, and I told my mother and my sister about it. And my sister, who's very practical, said, well, if you actually do hear a voice, I want you to promise me you will go get a shrink. And that day came. There were 3 days where I heard voices, really heard voices. And I kept my promise, and I did go to a psychiatrist for about 3 months. And he said to me, Laura, they're not telling you to go shoot up a post office. They're telling you to write books about truth, love, and light. Eventually, it just became so intense. It was like being bombarded. I mean, in my sleep, in the shower, waking moments, I would get these messages, and it was like, okay, I'll do it. This was the turning point. I had been so left brain my whole life with business and law. I knew intuitively I had to open up the right brain. Well, after I received messages about writing these 3 books, the next one was about a spirituality school. It was so phenomenally beautiful. I didn't think it was possible.
So first there were my dreams, and they were vivid and so unusual for me. And then what I started realizing is that I was having these magnificent experiences during my dream time, and I was getting inspirational messages too. So these felt so real to me, just as real as my waking moments. And I would get these wonderful messages. So I asked one night, what is my purpose? And I went to sleep, and I had this dream that I was working with the bottom of people's feet. Like I was repairing the soles of their feet. And when I woke up, I asked myself, well, does that mean I'm doing shoe repair work? I didn't know what that meant. But very clearly, a thought came to my mind and said, soul healing, S-O-U-L, healing. Well, cut to 7 or 8 years later, and when I started a body, heart, and spirit studio, I realized that the name was Healthy Soul Centers. Around 2001, I started to get messages. They were thoughts that would come into my mind. and they were thoughts that weren't typically what I had. I was getting information about people that I wouldn't normally be privy to. So something about their energy, something about their physical bodies, or even their thoughts. I was picking up on their thought vibrations. They came through as intuitive messages, and so I paid attention to them because they were very strong. And I realized that I was getting information in a different way other than my dreams. This information was coming through so powerfully that I couldn't even ignore it. And what I received was actually guidance on writing 2 books. Energy is consciousness and contains information. So what I found myself experiencing more of was being an actual channel, like a translator of this information that was coming in. I'd get out of my own way and just let it flow into words without trying to figure it out or understand it. It would just come through. Well, I became like a simultaneous translator. The information was coming through in energy, and then it would come through in words. And then it unfolded and expanded into seeing the unseen. And then it expanded even further into feeling what other people were feeling. I could see their energy and feel the emotions that they were experiencing, or feel something in their own body, feel their thoughts. I could hear it, see it, and feel it.
I was a captain in the world's most powerful Air Force. And when I left that position, I literally went from a well-paid captain in the world's most powerful military to essentially nothing in the eyes of the people around me. I was starting to let myself express. It was just a few weeks. Letting go of that identity was horrifying, because that had defined me. You know, for years, I wasn't even aware of that I had so much invested in the outside world, in this identity as a captain, as a whatever, as an American, a captain, as a guy who's good at this or whatever. And when I basically left everything, left my community, all my community that said this is who I am, who looked at me and helped me understand who I thought I was. Well, when I let go of that and I was traveling through Ireland and Wales and through the UK, wow, how quick was I to run back to that identity. I had a nervous breakdown in a phone booth in Wales when I had nowhere to go. I didn't know where to go. We'll talk about these dark nights of the soul. I mean, it's one moment of such profound despair. It was the beginning of an incredible cleansing. And it was really letting go of that identity, you know, that had defined me to that moment. And it was painful. It was so painful, and yet at the same time, I wasn't aware of it at that moment, but that's what I came there for. I woke up one morning with the awareness. It seems so obvious now, but at the time it was actually quite striking. And I knew that for my entire life, I had always done exactly what I wanted to do. That awareness shifted everything for me, because I started looking at my language. I have to do this. I need to go there. I've got to leave now. All lies. Nothing I have to do. Nothing. Everything that I've been living is a choice. This has become a really powerful space to live from, because I can no longer blame anyone else or anything else for what's happening to me at this moment.
My body went through cardiac arrest, and I had a profound near-death experience. And I went into the light. I was greeted by 7 angels. They were 14 feet tall each. And they took me into a building, and there was a holographic table. And as I moved my eyes, they showed me the table, and they showed me my life. Anytime that I was angry, resentful, or blamed other people, and of course that's all that you ever do when you're a teenager, the angels asked me, how does that relate to love? And there was no judgment, there was no hell, there was no you're bad. It was just everything in life is about your ability to respond with love. or react out of fear. And then they wanted to explain that most things in our life are predetermined or predestined, and that the only thing that we have really control over is how we respond to what happens to us.
Are we living life at a faster pace? Timekeepers at the National Institute of Standards and Technology note that the rate of the Earth's rotation has sped up since 1999. Changes in motion of the Earth's core, the effect of ocean tides and weather, plus changes in the shape of the Earth may all be affecting the spin of our host. With every acknowledged experience we are having, that new knowing becomes a part of the collective consciousness, creating new frequencies that others can access when they are ready to choose so. We are indeed transforming as a species, resulting in an awakening that is becoming apparent through an increase in humans having supernatural experiences. Phenomena such as hypercommunication with unseen beings, intuitive sensing, self-healing, remote viewing, visions of other worlds, and so many more extraordinary experiences are being reported globally at an undeniably increasing rate. Are we accessing aspects of ourselves that exist in the realms of the unlimited? The answer is a resounding yes. It seems as though a cosmic alarm clock has sounded and triggered an evolutionary shift within our very DNA, which is known as our biological superhighway of information and communication. This is our very own unlimited personal library that exists within. Will scientists prove what many channels, psychics, and energy workers already know? Will they release studies confirming that our DNA is changing and that our consciousness is expanding? Perhaps they already can, yet their proof neither accelerates nor slows down the hypercommunication many humans are experiencing and goes far beyond what we imagined possible. Some phenomena cannot be explained by traditional science. This has exploded the general population's awareness of quantum physics, which often explains occurrences beyond what has been deemed as the norm. Many belief systems may be challenged by these phenomena, but like electricity, you don't have to believe in it and see it, yet it exists. To the countless people having extraordinary experiences, it is as real and tangible as the furniture they sit on, the cars they drive, the buildings in which they live, the food they eat, and the people that comprise their family and friends. It is actually easy to know when hypercommunication is occurring. The channel, medium, psychic, or energy worker convey information that they don't usually know. Names, events, details, voice changes, and/or the physical body shape-shifting are just a few indicators. Photographs during states of hypercommunication often capture light flashes, orbs, light beams, and aura color changes. Communication with the unseen realm is often described as receiving information from angels, ascended spiritual masters, galactic beings, family members who have crossed over, God, Source, Gaia, crystals, pets, and the creatures who share our habitat.
How do I recognize when I'm getting intuitive messages? Well, it's pretty much like a sledgehammer coming through. Let's put it this way. I hear it. I hear voices, and I also know. It's like a very strong inner knowing. And if I don't follow it, I get really knocked on the head. Things just don't flow right, and I know I'm out of sync.
There's always been this little whispering voice, this whispering knowing, this thing that knows. And every time I've really ignored the urgings, that thing inside that says, oh, don't do that, or ooh, do that, every time I've ignored that, I've suffered. I do it at my own peril. And still, it's fascinating to watch me sometimes ignore it.
Where is humanity headed with so much shifting occurring at this time? Without a doubt, humanity is changing at all cellular levels. Could this be a purification of our species?
It's been fascinating watching the progression as a lot of people go from going outside themselves. We're seeking guidance from inside ourselves to the answers of what's going on in the body, in our minds, and on the planet.
I think mass consciousness is definitely shifting, and I think some of the indicators are that people who wouldn't have been interested in half the stuff that I talked about 20 years ago are now really interested, and people are expanding. They want to know more. They're looking for bookstores. They're looking for videos. I mean, the explosion on the internet with people who are into metaphysical work.
The fact is that we are living extraordinary times. Never, ever, ever in history we have the ability to receive as much information as we have it right now. The internet has come to create what I used to believe that we are one concept from way back in the 70s and 80s to make it a reality. Right now, it's a bunch of people that are already awakening to consciousness.
These are absolutely wondrous times to incarnate on this planet as a human. What used to be expressed as taboo and woo-woo is now being explored on television. It's being explored radio shows. There's groups that are organizing to communicate about the metaphysical and about these extraordinary experiences that people are having. People are awakening to the unlimited beings that they truly are. Our consciousness is expanding and evolving into remembering that we are the creators of all of our experiences. This leads many people to feel more connected to the core divine existence within. This internal heartfelt connection expands our senses. And so people are experiencing, seeing things from the unseen realm, hearing thoughts or sounds that they don't typically hear or think, and feel. They even have more knowing. This intuitive sense expands. And this is where people are headed in this expansion of these senses and collecting information or getting information in ways that they never did before. Suddenly, these extraordinary experiences become the new ordinary. Collectively, we are evolving into conscious co-creators, and we are here to usher in a new existence. Some people call that the golden age. Some people call it the new world or heaven on earth. I also believe that this conscious sentient being that is our host is moving into a cosmic alignment. And as such, at some point, there will be a veil that is lifted where we can experience our galactic connections. These are such exciting times.
Well, one thing that I find fascinating and exciting is that mainstream media is starting to pick up on aspects of the paranormal, spirituality. It's coming in to the mainstream, to the masses in that way. It's time. It's time for people to wake up. I believe that the earth is going through an evolution, and as I would say the pioneers, the light workers who woke up, the first waves brought more and more light. And what the dolphins have shared with me is each person that wakes up sends a ripple into the mass consciousness of humanity. and raises the consciousness of humanity, one person at a time, one soul heart at a time. So there has been a groundswell from those who came before and did this work. The others, the rest of humanity, is really able to ride on the work that the others have done and just kind of enter into the slipstream.
We are about to go through a paradigm shift into what we are describing as the fourth paradigm. And it will be a period during which energies are balanced again. The sacred feminine is already reemerging, and we're acknowledging the fact that we are the lesser for having lost her. So we're in a cusp right now, is what we are. We're going through this, and we're going to go through it one way or the other. This baby is going to be born. You know, it's like once you're pregnant, it's too late. It's going to get born. So the issue is it going to be an easy birth or a breech birth?
At the same time, more and more clairvoyant children are being born. Known as indigo, crystal, rainbow, and golden ones, inherent in the very energy of these children is a message that life in previous generations is shifting to a whole new way of being.
Doing work with autistic children, I've kind of shifted my position from the point of view that sound therapy is there to fix them or heal them or save them. What I've discovered is that these kids are far more intelligent than we are, that they are truly the ones that we have been waiting for, that they have chosen to remain in their shell because, I don't say this in an arrogant way, but their position is, in my opinion, and again, I'm not a medical doctor or a licensed psychiatrist, but their position from my point of view is that unless you're going to be in your truth, unless you're going to be in your power, I don't want to talk to you.
Perhaps these deeply wise souls in tiny bodies come as messengers that do not threaten adults. Could it be the messages of our children and those delivered during hypercommunication are actually coming through because we have called forth divine support? Many people do not always have support from their friends and family, either as children or as adults, when extraordinary experiences occur.
I was not able to share this with anyone. They didn't quite understand it. It wasn't talked about. My mom every once in a while would go with her friends to go see a psychic, but that was about it. So I really didn't have any kind of training or an open forum for it, which in a way I think it was a blessing because it didn't have to undo a lot of religious background, serious belief.
My story basically is I remember as a child being intuitive and being clairvoyant. I had a lot of contacts with angels, what people would call ETs, and I learned, unfortunately, that those things were not welcomed in my environment, and so I learned to tune them out.
The downside for me came when my family and emotional support team questioned what I was doing. I was leaving the corporate world to do what? To do something I couldn't describe. All I could do was show them the joy that was shining through, and they didn't see it. I was amazed. I knew I was in a whole different place. I was happy and joyful and smiling and looking forward to the day, and no one could see it. I didn't understand. So I sort of removed myself from the good opinions of other people because they didn't understand, and I don't blame them because I couldn't explain it to them.
It's an amazing journey once you agree to partake and keep going even when it's quiet, because those are the times when you're supposed to learn to trust yourself. And what I have found, and where I'm a little bit stuck right now in my journey, is love of self, trusting yourself. It's allowing yourself to experiment even when people make fun of you. I've lost a lot of friends since this started, and I've made many more new ones. But part of the God game, the Matrix, is you're supposed to go out and create too. We're co-creating. We're all co-creating. So it's unpredictable. It's exciting. The dark night of the soul can hit sometimes, but all of that's part of the journey. And keep going. Keep going if this has started for you.
We live in a joy-based universe of unlimited possibilities, with the free will to choose how we will respond to our continuous shifting. With our every thought influencing the collective consciousness of humanity, what vibrations are you choosing to emanate? Heaven on earth can only be co-created when we allow ourselves to experience heaven within first. What if the very things you fear are providing an opportunity to awaken those who are still asleep in the old paradigm and belief systems of pain, control, and suffering? There is a plethora of doom and gloom predictions afloat, from Earth's shifting axes to Earth-destructive solar flares, to colliding with asteroids, to portions of Nostradamus' predictions being quoted, or references to end times in the Bible. Yet living in this type of fear perpetuates feelings of helplessness and easily blocks your intuition and inner guidance from coming into your conscious awareness. Fear of the unknown has kept many people from sharing and expressing their divine experiences.
Well, I think fear comes up for a lot of people because a lot of times we're walking into uncharted territory. And so for me personally, when I know things are flowing and all of a sudden that doubt comes in my body, first of all, tells me, okay, what about this? It's when I don't trust and I don't believe that I'll be taken care of. And if fear comes up for me, it means that I'm not in the present moment, which is so important. So it means I'm going to the past, I'm going into the future. And that's when things can kind of get out of control because we're creating tomorrow today. So if I want to work through fear and I want a happy tomorrow, I have to bring myself in the present moment. And then sometimes I have to say, okay, right here, right now, I'm safe. Right here, right now, I'm okay. So I have to redirect. And a lot of times you have to kind of deprogram the fear because we grew up with fear, you know? It's a pattern, and a lot of times we have to undo that.
I think that the stories that we've been told for the last 2,000 years don't work anymore. So I think that people are realizing that we've been told a bunch of buffalo chips. And so they want different answers because the things that they've been told just don't work. They don't work anymore.
Whether our shifting is explained by the new beginning or fifth world prophecies of the Maya and native cultures, or discoveries are unfolding to reflect the changes in the human DNA, or our planet is emanating a higher, faster hum, there is a tendency to focus on fear-based possibilities of where we are headed, rather than the probability that we are preparing to collectively hold a higher vibration as a species to anchor in a new world of peace, joy, and harmony.
What I would suggest to people who are awakening to these spiritual experiences, first of all, is ground your body, because the higher you go, it's dependent on how grounded your physical body is. If you're experiencing flashes of light or voices or spiritual dimensions opening to you, that's all a good sign. You're on the right path because this is where we're heading. Let's say in terms of our expanded brain consciousness, we're opening portals in the brain that have been dormant for thousands and millions, if you will, years. However, the physical body's part of the process now, so you can't ignore it and you can't just detach from it like we did in the old days. It's not about mastery out of the body, it's about mastery in the body. So my suggestion would be to be as grounded as possible. If you're feeling like you're having some sort of quirks go on in your body that are unexplainable, check in with someone that you trust. Get massage, do Reiki, get yourself acupuncture, whatever it is that you know you need. Because sometimes these spiritual experiences can actually throw the chemistry of the body out. It's as if two different systems are trying to run the show. And so what you want to do is be an integrated system, and you want your physical vehicle to be as strong as possible. Yoga is really good. Anything where you have a practice that seems like it's sort of disciplined in a way to get your body focused, that will actually only enhance your spirituality, not detract from it. So I suggest that strongly. As our own electromagnetic frequency raises, as we're becoming so attuned, the planet's becoming more attuned to the intergalactic waves that are hitting us, naturally, we're going to become more intuitive. That's part of the programming that we have right now. And so you can try to tune it out, turn it down, dismiss it, say that it's not real. But inside, if you're open to it, it's going to come, it's like the switch is turned on. And you physically have to turn yourself off now. So if you are an intuitive and you're learning to read the signs, just give yourself that space and honor it. Keep a journal, meditate every day, and stay around people who are positive. Because the first thing that will quench, let's say, a metaphysical or a spiritual opening is negativity. I mean, if you're around negativity a lot, or if you allow negativity to infiltrate you a lot, then your frequency is going to get lowered, and you have to constantly replenish yourself. But being around nature, if you have a pet, love on your pet, you know, take your kids to the park, whatever you need to do, those messages will come in because they're all around you. Some people see angels, some people see spirit guides. However it works for you, know that this is the operation of the universe right now. We're entering a new quantum field. So what used to be considered very unusual or crazy or woo-woo is now going to become the norm. So it's going to be normal, everyday reality.
Whatever you are going through, wherever you are, whatever you are doing at this moment, it is exactly what you need to be doing. You are exactly where you need to be. You are going through exactly what you need to be going through at this moment. And the next moment is a choice. It's just that simple. It's really in the community that my own experiences are supported and thus even anchored. If I'm just living in my own little world, well, it's easy to get crazy in there and really not know what the heck's going on. But it's in the community, in conversation with thoughtful people that are open as well, that's where it's really supported. And sure, I've had conversations with people that think I'm completely crazy. I just don't have long conversations with them.
Listen to you. Listen to who you are. What did you always want to do as a child? What were you told that you couldn't do, that you shouldn't do, that you're not going to be allowed to do because you're not good enough, because you're not talented enough, because no one would believe you? Find out what those things are and do those things. Being quiet. You don't have to meditate for 8 hours a day, but spending 15, 20 minutes a day listening to your own soul. Because your own soul already has the answer, already knows what it wants. And do those things.
It's about being brave enough to trust yourself. If you don't trust yourself enough, you won't keep going, and when you fall down, you won't get up. You just got to keep going. That's what evolution is about, and that's where we are as a species. The next stage of our evolution is about spiritual evolution. Be brave. If you're Catholic like I was, picture Joan of Arc. I mean, pick some symbol for yourself, some totem, an animal totem. Do whatever initially makes you feel good and empowered to keep going, because it's a very scary thing. Find someone, find your tribe. That was a big thing for me. As I said, I've lost some friends during the course of this journey, and it's so important to find your people, your soul group. And we all have a soul group, and when you find those people, you know, they help you during the times when you are scared.
From my perspective and experience, I would suggest first, give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to be fearless, to be fully the physical embodiment of the unlimited being that you truly are. Second, go within. Trust your heart. Go within through your heart and just visualize going to the center of your being, the core of your being. Let yourself feel what that core vibration is. You'll experience a tremendous amount of peace and joy, and you'll realize that you have access to absolute abundance. It's an unlimited source within you. Everything you desire to know and to experience comes from within. It's all within you. There are some people who can guide you to the gateway within, but in actuality, you activate all of that cellular, embedded knowing and information when you choose to live life from your heart and fully awakened. Third, own, claim your creator self. Loving unconditionally all of your experiences, and you are the creator of all of them, without judging others' journeys and your own. You're honoring the perfection of every experience.
What if humanity is actually capable of so much more? What if everyone chose benevolent acts to those who think differently, kindness to support others on their journey, and unconditional love because we realize that we are all one, no matter where we exist in the omniverse? What do we need to occur before we choose our individual and collective experiences that resonate and thereby create joy-based results? Are we waiting for December 21st, 2012? Or for a huge armada of cosmic beings to show up on our doorstep, delivering an invitation to change, or offering to take us off the planet? Are we waiting for governments and religious leaders to come forth disclosing what they've known for a very long time? Or for those leaders to give us permission to believe differently? Are we waiting for a doctor to give a blue or red pill? Are you waiting for an apocalyptic Earth event? Or for new technology to break through? Are you waiting for an all-inclusive world war? Are you holding out for scientists to prove that we are indeed something more than we believe ourselves to be at this time? Do you require that our children take us by the shoulders and shake this fear right out of us? You don't have to be a world leader, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, a high-ranking officer, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, or a recognized scientist to make all the difference in the world. You can be you, letting the power of your core essence shine through unconditionally, uninhibited, fearlessly, and limitlessly. That is the invitation sent by the collective consciousness of humanity to ourselves. Making a conscious choice to create a new existence simply begins with you. It's time to claim what's rightfully yours by consciously co-creating it.
Based on my own near-death experience, you're not alone. You're loved, irregardless of what you do or don't do, and you've never done anything wrong. You cannot fail, ever. You're it. You are the answer.
I think it's so important that everyone know that they're loved. They come from love. They are loved. They deserve to be loved. And I think that there's so much more to this experience than people realize. You just have to be open to it and to know that we're not alone. We have the support in the physical and in the spiritual. And this is the most amazing journey that there is.
A most empowering thing to remember is that you are perfect, that you were born in perfection and you continue to operate from perfection. And your life experiences have brought you to the place of viewing this, to know that you are perfect. There is nothing you need to change about yourself. There's nothing you need to add. You need only to really unlearn, to release the emotions and the experiences. Allow them to float gently away. Allow your heart to shine. Allow your soul to come through. And allow your intuition to be your guide.
If you have ever gone, or if you're going to go in the future into experience that shatters your life, keep your heart open. Because the heart is the doorway to the information that allows us to tap or to tune into higher frequencies.
The very first message I received from the dolphins was 4 simple but profound words. Love heals, joy transforms. The dolphins invite us all to open our eyes, our hearts, our minds, and look around. Who or what are your special teachers? Follow the beauty. Follow the magic. Follow your joy. In so doing, you will discover your own precious heart, your own true nature. And in this, we will all find freedom.
I would think the best way to be of service to yourself and to other people is to trust your heart and to come from your heart and to just really know that if you're feeling inspired and you're really feeling like your heart is open and you love the world and you love every day, when you wake up you have a reason to be alive, you have a reason to give, a reason to just love, then you're good. You know, if you wake up in a bad mood, which everyone does, and you're cranky and things are bad out there in the world, shut off the bad news and just kind of zip it. You know, a friend of mine says zip, zip. And what you want to do is just concentrate on where you do feel good. Everyone has at least 3 or 4 things in their life to give thanks for. And that's what we do. You know, we look at what we can do and how we can be of service on the bad days. And then the good days just fill them up. They fill up by themselves. So we really don't have to think about it. But trust your heart, trust your intuition, and just know that you're being guided from a very, very good place.
I would like everyone to know who's watching this film that you are fully loved and supported beyond what you can even imagine. Your very essence is joyous love, and we live in the realms of infinite possibilities. The more that you allow yourself to feel the connection within to all aspects of your existence, to Source, to each other, to this planet, to the beings of the unseen and seen realms, to each other, the easier it will be to remember that you are here purposefully and always living that purpose fully expressed. You chose your awareness to be in the here and now you through our evolutionary shift, which is becoming consciously co-creating humans, fully integrating our multi-dimensional existence. You are a reflection of me and I of you. After all, we are one and we are love.